All right, boys and girls. So today's project is I'm working on the John Deere 450D again, and I need to get this winch off. So good thing is the winch works. Bad thing is the input shaft seal is super worn out. So worn out that just in the last 10 minutes, that's what it's dripped out. The other reason I needed to take this thing off is because the output shaft from the dozer itself, you can't see it down there, is the seal is bad also. So both of them need to be replaced, and you can see they're making a complete mess down here. And the winch loses so much oil so quickly, especially once I'm running it, that I have to keep putting oil in it just to keep the gearing and whatnot from running dry, and the bearings and all that stuff. So I'm going to work on getting this thing off of here, and at least then I don't have to worry about it running dry. I could leave it off and not replace the seal right now if I don't have time. But then that'll give me access to the seal for the output shaft on the dozer, and I can stop that from leaking at least. So that's the project. I'm going to get into it. All right, I got a lot of stuff going on here, but I think I'm ready to take this thing off. So, got the jack underneath all secured. The bolts are all loosened up. All these chains right here are hooked to the engine hoist. They're just a safety mechanism. So as I pull that thing away, that jack wants a tip. I mean, let's face it, it's a Craftsman. It's not exactly the highest quality jack. And while it says 1,500 pounds on it, and I'm pretty sure that winch does not weigh more than 1,500 pounds, I don't feel like dropping that winch on my concrete floor and screwing everything up, including the winch. right, so the good thing is shaft's disconnected. So I think what I'm going to do off camera, because it's going to take a little while, is that jack does not want to roll very well with all that weight on it. So I think what I'm going to do is connect a come along to it and to my welding table back here, and see if I can just slowly move it back in a controlled manner versus me jerking on the thing, which would lead to it tipping over or something stupid happening. So I'm going to do that, and I'll bring you guys back later. I'm not a mechanic. I have stayed at a Holiday Inn once. I don't think that's good. Make some pretty nice art, though. So I'm trying to get this on the ground and tip it up because there's some more plugs that are under there to drain the oil. One of them's half broken off and one's all the way broken off. So I need to drill one of them to get it out and see what I can do to the other one. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. All right. So I think this is another drain plug, because you can see there's a high spot here. So this probably holds some oil. And then I think this is supposed to be a drain plug also. So another like square pipe thread. So I'm going to take this one out. And if in fact it does, is a hole where it would drain oil out of here, then I have to drill and remove this one and then replace them, stand it back up, drain the rest of the oil out that I can, because obviously I want to get that milky crap out of there. And then I can start working on pulling this apart to replace this seal. All right, so square fittings, a lot of time a 12-point socket. You can find one that will fit on them. So this is missing one of the points, and I'm hoping that I can get this thing to break free. So let's see. Nope. All right. I think I'm going to have to grind some of this down and try to catch that fourth point down there. This is not working out so well. Just not capturing enough of that fourth point. So let's try a little crescent wrench. There we go. Well, that socket couldn't have been grabbing all that hard because this was not, wasn't all that tight. Either that or me tapping on it really made a difference. All right, so definitely is a drain plug. Look at this crap. Yeah. That stuff's usually not very good for bearings and gears and clutches. So, all right. So yeah, this is the one that is broken off. So I gotta drill that. Hopefully, when I drill it and use a easy out, hopefully it's not in there too tight. So. Might be deep enough. Mother. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what you don't want to do. Have a hardened steel tool break off. Well, I think I'm going to have to go with plan B, which is weld a nut onto the edge of this and see if I can spin it out that way. Where it is just breaking off. Oh, maybe not. Look at that. That thing is probably super hot still. Okay. Well, breaking the easy out off in there, not ideal. I don't even know why I use these. I really need to just buy some quality ones. Made in China. They're these stupid Black & Decker brand. And I think this is my second set of them because I keep breaking them. So they're clearly not doing what I need them to do. So I need to just go buy a quality set. All right, well, so that one's out, but as I was looking over before I got started, I noticed that there's another one down here. So I might just start with the welding the nut thing on, since obviously I don't have any quality easy outs. Okay, so I learned something else out about this thing, which is so after looking at the parts manual and the maintenance book, so it looks like this thing is divvied in half. So fluids and gears and bearings and everything over here, clutches and brake band over here, and these are dry. So I just assumed that this whole thing was one big wet system, but it appears these are dry. And my guess is that this pipe plug here is a condensation drain, right? That you just during a service, open it up, make sure that any condensation that got in there is drained out, because it's just kind of full of junk and it doesn't appear to have any oil in it. So then this thing down here that I thought was another pipe plug, because the book shows two of them on this side. I don't think that's what it is. So I put the nut on it, and the nut actually seemed to start threading onto it, which I thought was odd, but I welded it on anyway and then started backing it out. And then it was coming out very easy, and then it just stopped, and it was a hard stop. So I went and looked in the maintenance book and the parts book, and between the two of them, I think what I found was kind of an odd setup. I think this was supposed to be the end of a bolt sticking out of here. So they show a bolt up into here to help create drag, so increase or decrease drag on the brake drum, or the brake band. And so when you pull this cover off, you can work on that and then adjust it in there. So they just showed a bolt with a jam nut. And so you adjust that, and it looks like it just goes and sticks through the housing. And so what I thought was a broken pipe plug head, I don't think it was. So when you look at the manual here, they call that a pipe plug. And so 22, 23 pipe plugs. I don't know where the 22 is. That's what I thought I was working on. But this is the brakes, the brake and the clutches over here. And then over here is all your gears and everything. And so when you look at the maintenance book, this is what I think I have encountered. So you can see the head of the bolt is inside the winch housing, and you can see just so slightly there, it looks like they just thread it through and it protrudes. And then on the next page, there's a slightly better view of it. Maybe it's the same view, but yeah, so you can see how it looks like it sticks through the bottom, and they talk about increasing or decreasing this distance to deal with drag. So I think that's just supposed to be a end of a bolt sticking out of the housing. And I think there's a jam nut inside. Either that, or there was supposed to be a nut on the end of this, and that's the jam nut. So without seeing more pictures of it, it's kind of hard to tell exactly what it is. But for now, I'm just going to leave that bolt or that nut welded onto there because I don't want to mess with it. So I tightened it back up to where it was. And so hopefully it didn't mess anything up in there. And yeah, so now I can stand this thing back up and try to get the oil out of this side over here, any other oil, clean this out because there's a bunch of junk in there. And then actually, I think while it's standing up here, I might just start pulling this apart and worry about tipping it back up after I get the seal replaced. walkie-walkie action. My my guess is, so there's the seal. So my guess is I was just trying to overcome that. It was stuck on there, which I guess is good, but clearly it's not doing its job since it's just puking oil out. Well, as usual with these old machines, this has turned out to be a can of worms. So here is where I'm at. This seal is actually in much better shape than I thought it was. That was debris that was sitting inside that void space. I think it was a fir needle that I thought was part of the seal. So once I got this thing cleaned up, you can see the seal is not all that bad. So that doesn't mean it's not worn out, but by the looks of it, doesn't explain why this thing was just leaking so much oil. Well, as I got everything cleaned up, it's probably because, let's see here, those grooves are not supposed to be in here. There we go. So I'm pretty sure that over these years, somebody probably has replaced this seal already, considering how good of condition it looks like it's in comparison to the shaft here. And so, yeah, the seals have just worn a groove into the shaft. So there's just there's no way. I mean, look at this. This is the worst I've ever seen. I've seen low spots and small little grooves, but I've never seen anything like this. I almost thought that this was a machined edge, but I went and looked in the manual and then went and looked up the new part. And as you can imagine, they don't have cut grooves in the shaft. And it doesn't make any sense if that's where the seal needs to ride. And when I looked at the seal, when it's compressed in there, it's probably contacting that shaft in exactly those two spots. And it's just worn a groove over time. So it doesn't matter if I put a new seal in here or not. This thing will never seal again. It will never stop leaking. And I had noticed this other thing that I'm about to show you. I noticed this earlier, but I was going to say forget it and just keep going with it. But you can see, look how worn these splines are on the shaft. And so I noticed this as soon as I took the winch off the machine. But I was just going to reuse the shaft because I don't plan on putting thousands of hours on this winch. But now with the seal issue, I'm going to have to replace this shaft. So, and then I'll probably also replace the coupler because it's somewhat worn also, and I really don't want to put a new shaft with a worn coupler together. The thing that sucks about this is now I do have to take this whole cover off. So this whole thing has to come off so that I can pull this shaft out because it's not going to come out. It's the gear that's hooked to it will not come out that hole. So yeah, so I'm going to go spend a bunch of money on a new shaft and coupler. Okay, so I'm working on taking this seal out. It needs to come out anyway because I'm going to replace it. The race needs to come out first so the seal can come out. Race out. And now I just need to probably flip this thing over and hopefully just drive the seal out. All right, so I got the slide hammer in here. I'm going to see if I can grip it and pull it out the exact same way. All right, let's see if I can convince it with a punch. Obviously, the tough thing about this is not scoring up the machined finish, because you need the seal to create a seal, but it's moving a little bit, so I might be able to keep working my way around with the punch. Aha! There we go. And it looks like aside from there being dirt and junk in there still, looks like I didn't screw up the machine's finish. I probably annihilated any chance I had of finding a number on this seal. Oh, wait. Oh. 480169 SSR. Sweet. So I ordered the seal already based on the parts manual, but now I can double check it and make sure that it's the correct seal. And if it's not the correct seal, I can use this number to make sure I get the correct seal. Okay, so I temporarily put this back together. I'm going to stand this thing upright and clean all this dirt and garbage off of here, because now I have to pull this whole cover off so that I can get the input shaft out. And clearly, I don't want any of this dirt and grime getting in there. Probably want to put that plug back in so I don't dump oil all over my floor. So this is pretty cool when they do something like this. I like it because that means they're thinking about the poor guys that got to work on these things. So these are threaded holes in the cover here. And so they're not threaded into the base, they're threaded into the actual plate. And so you can use the same bolts that you take out of the plate to hold it on, and they thread into here, and then they push against the base, so it actually helps you remove this whole plate. So pretty cool when they do something like this. All right. These gears, if they ride on this, I'm assuming that they also ride on a bearing further in there. Maybe. I see a bunch of needle bearings, or I don't know what they're called. I think when they're smaller, they're called needle bearings. I don't know if they're needle bearings when they're that big. So I'm trying to be pretty careful here. I do not want to start yarding stuff out of here and have things fall out that I don't know where they came from, or fall into a place in the winch that I can't get it. So I'm probably gonna just leave that alone, because that's not what I'm here for. However, my curiosity sometimes gets the best of me, and I want to start pulling stuff apart just to see how it all works. But this is what I'm in here for. So I think I'm going to try not to let my curiosity get the best of me. So these bearings all look fine to me. These teeth all look good, which actually that doesn't matter, because this whole thing gets replaced, which means the gears get replaced too. God, it's so unfortunate that this whole thing gets replaced all because of this wear point down here. So, I think I'm going to try to carefully remove these bearings so that I can press them on to the new one, because why buy new bearings? And if I buy new bearings, then I should replace the races. And why do that when these look perfectly good? So we'll see. If I damage these coming off, then that'll give me my answer there. Luckily, these probably are not all too expensive. They're a fairly small bearing. Okay, so I have the shaft set into the vise here. So it's not tight because I don't want to damage these bearings down there. I got the bearing puller set up. This way, I'm contacting the hardened part of the or the bearings pressed onto the shaft, and I'm trying to make sure I don't touch. I don't know any of the names of the bearing parts, what makes up a bearing, but I'm trying not to hit these, because that will definitely damage it if I bend this. So we're gonna see if I can slowly work this thing off. I was able to get the numbers off of these. If anybody's curious, the races and the bearings themselves have different numbers. So these are Timken bearings and races, and the races: L as in Lima, M as in Mike, 48510. So that's the race. And then the bearing itself is L as in Lima, M as in Mike, 48548. So there you go. There's the part numbers for these if you're needing to do a project, this same project, and want to order stuff ahead of time. All right, let's see if we can get this thing off without damaging it. Oh, and problem number one, how to keep it from spinning. Okay, let's try the impact wrench and see if I can just hold it. Oh, that's working very nicely. So I just have my impact driver on low. Oh, there we go. You know, not too many things in my life go easier than expected. So I really appreciate moments like this. And looks like I got it off without damaging it at all. One down, one to go. Okay, well, I didn't like that one nearly as much because once it loosened up on here, the puller shifted and it came into contact with the collar here, the edge of the collar, and it tightened up a little bit, but doesn't look bent. So I think I'm good. I think I caught it in time and stopped. So shouldn't be an issue. Cool. So new shaft and coupler cost me over just around $425. So considering the age of the dozer, I guess I should be happy about that because who knows? I mean, just to be able to find the parts for something like this at this age, 45 years old, is, I guess, pretty good. So maybe I shouldn't complain. If I was thinking, hey, I could do another little project, would be kind of fun, and I could fill this in with weld, put it in the lathe, and machine it down and get it back to its original size. And since that's apparently where the seal runs, would be good to go. So I've never done that before, but I thought, hey, that might be kind of a cool thing to do. Obviously, I have all the center points and everything. But the bigger problem is these splines. So I probably would do that if these splines weren't half worn out. So if you look, I mean, look how bad those are worn out. So they're easily 50% gone. I don't know, maybe more. And then the coupler isn't all that much better. So this side, the input shaft and the portion of the coupler that marries to it wore 10 times worse than the output shaft on the dozer or this portion. Now, I don't know if they designed it that way so that you didn't have to get into the dozer. The output shaft on the dozer probably takes up about 2/3 of this. And so you have quite a bit more of the splines engaged compared to this. So it's not very surprising to me why this wore and the other side did it. But so this is my problem. So if I was going to machine this, if I just could not find another part or this thing cost thousands of dollars, I would have to fill this all in, machine this down, and then I would have to recut the splines. Well, while I'm sure I could learn how to do that, I guarantee you I don't have the equipment for it. And as much as I love buying new tools and making new stuff, by the time I did all that, I'd probably be better off taking this part to a machine shop and just having them do it. because I'm pretty sure they would machine all these off, fill it back up with weld, and then machine it to this diameter, and then they would cut the splines in. So that's what I would do. But this itself, $275 from Broken Tractor, brokentractor.com or something. This surprisingly expensive at $100, and by the time shipping and tax and everything, I think I was at like $427. So, you know, not ideal, but it is what it is. So I don't know. Maybe I'll keep this thing and one day be looking for a project and see if I can figure out how to cut these splines back in, and maybe I'll take on that machining project and see if I can refurbish this thing. So, all right, so I finally got all my parts, new input shaft, collar, and new seal. So I'm going to press all the bearings on, seal in here, put the race back in, and then I should be ready to assemble. Okay, so I'm getting ready to put the seal and the race, or cone cup, as some people call them. This is the part number of the seal for the input shaft on the winch. And this is a different one than I took out as far as the brand and number. So this is a Knox, I believe is how it's pronounced, but N-O-K. And then the part number is AC2016F. So between the part number I pulled out and then this part number, you probably should be able to go find a seal anywhere. So one other thing before I put all this in is, obviously somebody's been in here before and they really beat the crap out of the area the seal is supposed to seat to. So, I mean, look at that. Somebody just beat the crap out of it, probably with a punch, while they were trying to get the other seal out. So that was not me. I did not do all that. So, one thing I'm going to do, maybe good, maybe bad, I can't see how it's going to hurt at all, is I'm going to use some of this gasket maker that you typically use for differentials. I'm going to put that on the edge of the seal here, and maybe a little bit in on this mating surface. Should give me a little bit of lubricant as far as helping press it in, but hopefully that seal maker or gasket maker will fill in some of those low spots, because those aren't just scratches, those are gouges on that mating surface. And so it just seems like an area that over time would be easy for oil to leak from. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll get to it. Okay. So obviously my press bottomed out and started hitting the metal, so I should be good, because now the race will go in and then bottom out on that same lip. All right, so I'm ready to put it back together. I'm going to use the same gasket maker stuff, because the seal that was here did not fare well coming apart, and I don't have a giant piece of gasket making material to make a new one. So I'm assuming the stuff that I have used for my differential should work fine.
Okay, so I got all my shims in here. I did all this off camera, but before I put the O-ring back in here, I had dry fit this. So the manual says dry fit it without the O-ring, torque the bolts down to 35 foot-pounds, spin the shaft to seat the bearings, and then with a gauge, like this one, you're supposed to have 2000s to 4000s end play, hence the shims. So I already got it all dialed in. Since I had to put a new shaft in and everything, I had to make some shims, which kind of sucked, but it is what it is. So I got my shims. I've already dry fit it. So when I'm torqued down here, I should be about 3000s end play, which would be in spec. Okay, so it's torqued. Let's seat the bearings here. And then let's see if it stayed at its 3000s. Yep. So there we go. We got right at 3000s play. So this thing is back together. So next thing will be get this thing right side up. I'm going to change the filter so that when I put new oil in it, it'll have a fresh filter to go with it. And then I'm going to call this done. I'm not going to put it back on the machine because I need to do the output shaft seal on the machine, and I'm not ready to drain all that oil and do that. So this is not going to go back on the machine. So I think this is going to wrap up this video of working on this thing and putting it back together. So hopefully if you have one of these things or looking to work on one of them, this might help you out.